Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today we're going to work on a very large, a 50 size rear drag fishing reel. And those are unusual because the bigger these reels get in rear drag, well, they just don't have the drag to support the size of the fish that they're going for. But this is a very large one. It came in because, well, it hasn't been serviced in a long time. The fellow inquired from Daiwa about the possibility of servicing it, and they told him it was too old for them to service. And well, we're gonna take this apart. We'll show you how to service it. I'm concerned here. He said that there is an there's an anti-reverse issue. It's always stopping pretty much, but if it's supposed to be more or less, I don't know. But these are the reels I believe use that rubber claw for the bounce back in that anti-reverse mechanism, and if this is melted away, that would be unfortunate. All right, we're going to take this reel apart. We'll show you how to service it, and while I start taking off the exterior pieces and parts, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel. My channel covers all kinds of fishing reel service and support, from the latest editions of reels to, well, reels that have been around a while. This one we'll put right in the middle because I do work on very old vintage reels as well. This would be an example of one of them. Here's a very old 4-post or 3-post fly reel. Nothing real fancy about that, but I do work on the older ones, and I work on current technology. I want to show you how to service the reels yourself, and I also want to pass along the knowledge and the things that I've learned so that you can become more aware of fishing reel manufacturers, their products, how they work, what they're used for, and well, gain some insight into why reels are what they are and how they are used. So if you like those kinds of videos, I would encourage you to subscribe. If you do subscribe, please use the notification button. That'll let you know when I'm posting. I try to post every day, and what I'm posting. And again, they're all over the place. Spinning reels, conventional reels, occasionally a fly reel, spin casting reels, whatever comes in my shop. Now, we are located on the Atlantic Seaboard in New Jersey, so a lot of the stuff that I do see in my shop is saltwater in nature, but well, every now and then we get some oddball stuff too. All right, we're taking off the cap so that I can remove the side cover. And yeah, it's been a while since this one's been serviced, and it might have even been a while since this one's been used because all of the grease has accumulated on the bottom here of the main gear. And it's also in the back here. I don't know how well you can see that, but in the back there's a good puddle of grease right here. So my guess is this has probably been stored like this. Gravity has done its work. The grease is seeped down in both directions, over here in the back end and over here in the front end. And well, a lot of what we do in terms of servicing the reel is simply to clean up the old grease, inspect the pieces and parts, make sure that they're all in good condition, and well, re-lubricate and get it back out there fishing again. I think this is a 1-ball bearing reel. I'm noticing that we have a bushing on this side. We'll remove the axle shaft now. We're going to do that by removing this hold-fast clip here. That's held in place by a single Phillips head screw. Let's take that off. And when I take my pieces and parts off, I put them into a parts tray. That's my system of organization to know where those pieces and parts are when it comes time to reinstall. I would encourage you to have a system before you start pulling the pieces and parts off. I would also encourage you to take pictures along the way, because those pictures may be invaluable, particularly when you're working on an old reel like this one. You might not be able to find a schematic for it, or you may not be able to find help at the manufacturer. As I mentioned, the note said they contacted Daiwa. Daiwa says we don't work on those old reels any longer. So unless you have a senior person there who may have worked on them in the past, you may be out of luck in terms of trying to get reinstalled if you don't take those pictures. All right, main gear comes out. There's a bushing on the back side of this, so we got 2 plastic bushings here. I'm going to remove that from the main gear. We'll do a little bit of cleanup on this one. We have some nice solid parts. This is a well-made reel. Solid crosswind block. And on the oscillation gear, we'll remove that. Notice that there is a copper washer or ferrule that goes on that stud. Don't lose that. All right, we'll just clean these up. There's a little bit of old dried grease on here. If you can wipe it off with a paper towel, that's wonderful. If you can't and you need to go to the next step, that's okay. Use maybe a kitchen scrubby. You can also use a solvent, like a penetrating oil, to kind of help with that grease. This is what I was saying on that one side, how it kind of bundled in there. And the reel, if nothing else, is just dry. And I think if I remember the comment, went something along the line of maybe the reel has not been serviced since new. That's quite possible. Okay, let's take a moment here. The teeth inside of this gear, I've kind of done a visual inspection. I can work fast like that, I guess, but you want to check all of the teeth. You want to make sure that they're clean and free of debris. And you also want to check to make sure that there are no chips or cracks or missing parts of the teeth that would make it fall, feel, and reel erratically. I just got a reel in. Somebody was asking me, why is it doing this? And it turns out that there was a little piece of monofilament stuck in one of the teeth of that gear, and that'll cause a little bit of a skip or a hop performance. So just check those as you go about the cleaning. So I've just used a cotton swab and a little bit of energy there to take that off. Now we'll take that back part off and we'll place that into the tray as well. Well, this is going to be the big moment here. It's going to tell us just what's going on with the anti-reverse, if it is one of those rubber ones or not. If it's the rubber one, it's holding as it is at the moment. And well, it may just be that you're going to be able to fish it until you can't. And at that point, you're going to just say it's been a nice reel to use, because it's unfortunate, but you cannot get those rubber claws any longer. All right, we're going to start by removing this. I'm going to use a socket to do that. This is a 14mm nut. Once I break the hold of that nut, I just like to put that, take the rest of it off by hand. Notice that there is a metal kind of four-sided clip there that's going to hold the tension, keep it from slipping. Okay, well, this is not that claw. That's very good. That's encouraging. But what's happened here, fairly easy to see, is that the eccentric spring, I'll take it off, it's a little bit easier to show you. That's an eccentric spring on here. That needs to go inside the little groove here on the anti-reverse dog. And what was happening is it was laying off to the side like this, and it would only catch when it finally came around and caught that corner. Then it would pull this in. I have the override off on this one. Let's go put it back. So when it came over to the side, it would knock it in, but it may take a while. If it was rotating over here somewhere, it would take a while for that rotor to come around and finally do that. With that inside the slot like this, it's going to do that all the time. And well, that's the issue here. Well, this is a single ball bearing wheel. We're going to take that ball bearing out and make sure that it works. It seemed to be working fine when we were doing the servicing pre-test. And I like to crank the reels and kind of put them through a little bit of an evaluation before I start work on them. That way, if there's something rough running in there, I can generally figure it out and well, correct it, or at least be aware when I go to do my diagnosis that there may be an issue in a certain part of that reel. All right, now you need to take those two hold down screws out to remove the bearing and the shaft. You do not need to remove this anti-reverse dog if it's working fine. That's working fine. A little bit of oil on that is enough. I'm kind of curious why that, well, to use a horse racing lingo, why it spit the bit, because well, it's kind of hard for it to do that, so not sure. All right, we should be able to pull up and out on this. Hey Chris, my streak continues. We'll take that bearing off. Now somebody asked me how I test the bearings. First of all, there's a little shim wash that goes on there. I just hold the center of the inner race and turn the outside. If it's turning, then I'm okay with that. I'm going to use a little bit of penetrating oil to cover the outside, and then we'll oil that bearing a little bit more when we go to reinstall. But there is a little bit of dry grease on that came from the top. So let's do that. Well, if you have any questions on this reel or any reel in particular, the bearing's spinning fine now, leave those in the comment section. I will try to answer those questions for you. That's the best way to reach me. And if you leave them in the comment section during the day, generally before I get started in the shop in the morning, I will answer those questions. So look for a response in the morning to your question that may have been left the previous night or somewhere during the day. Okay, I'm doing the same thing with the pinion gear that I did with the main gear. I am scraping that out. All I'm seeing here is tarnish. I'm not seeing anything that's logged in there. So we can go ahead and put this back on. This is the bottom washer for that assembly. And then I'm going to use some fishing reel grease. In this case, I'm going to use Penn Precision reel grease. And I recommend that you only use fishing reel greases when you service your reels. All right. Make sure that we get a good amount on there, since it probably hasn't seen grease since it was opened up. That's probably been 20 years since the reel was made. So yeah, go ahead and make sure that it does well. We've re-oiled the bearing. We've re-greased the pinion gear. Just want to put the two on. And then before we go any further, just clean that case out. Now the case, if it had grease in there, very little indication of it. So let's just bring this back. It's cleaned. We set that, then go into our parts tray. Get the other two screws that are going to act as the hold down. It's got a wide head on these screws, and that's what's actually holding the rim for that bearing. Some reels that you work on is going to have a collar there, or have another way to tie down that bearing. A lot of these reels will just use a screw with a wide head that can work on that. There you go. Just get that dog out of the way. We're going to put this back on now. Tighten that down. Again, we have a hook on here. Very important that that hook meshes with the slot in that anti-reverse dog. Let's go set that up, bring it in. And now we should have an anti-reverse that works all the time. Since this case was opened from below, we can take our rotor assembly now. I'm going to put a little bit of penetrating oil into the seams of the bail and on the line roller. I'm going to work that in a little bit just to make sure that we can get a nice snap back with that. We're going to bring that back on now. And the more pieces and parts that you can put back on the reel, get them out of harm's way, the better it is for the install. So that's what we're doing right now. We're just making sure that we get these out of the parts tray and working. Switch the throw on your ratchet so that you can tighten it. Give it a spin to make sure it spins nice and easy. And again, no burring noise at all. We're in good condition with that. Next up then, we want to take our oscillation gear. Again, same thing. Make sure it's clean. Check the teeth. This is all checking out perfectly and nicely. Oscillation gear gets some grease everywhere. It gets it on the back, in the hole, on the face. It's a real workhorse. Everything touches this gear. This is the one that makes the spool go up and down. Don't forget that you have that little ferrule or collar on that post there. Okay, we can do that. Let's go in and get the crosswind block or oscillation slide, depending on what manufacturer and naming they decided to call it. That slides in. Again, a good place to take a picture. It is possible to put that in upside down. I'll take that main gear. I'm going to do the same thing. We're going to get a nice amount of grease. You don't have to get grease in every slot and tooth, but a good amount of grease will go a long way. You don't want to over slather it either, because it's just going to throw it off. And well, it'll just go lay in the case, attract some dirt, and the next thing you know, the reel is struggling because the dirt is grinding on something. Once that's in, we go ahead and mesh that teeth. Take your time. Don't force anything. If it's not working, just stop for a moment, collect your thoughts, and kind of work it through. Axle shaft will be next. Light coating of grease on the axle shaft. Don't put more than that on there, because as it comes through the pinion gear here, it will scrape it off, any excess. And then let's go bring that down. And put the clip on. Now there is a rear drag assembly here I hope to get a look at, so I'm thinking maybe, just maybe, I'm going to have to remove this later to do that. But for now, line the two slots on the axle shaft so that the upper and lower C-clip of that assembly is aligned. Go to your parts tray and get the tie-down screw. For that assembly. I just switched drivers. It didn't seem to work very well anyway. Me and my big hands have issues from time to time with small parts getting started. I love my Klein Tool flathead screw starter. I haven't found the one for the... Okay. And now look at that. We got a anti-reverse stop every way along the path. All right, let's just take a quick look at the drag system. We have a little pointed hold here, one on this side, one on this side. They go into, you can see how they kind of just pop in here under these two slots. So we just want to work this side around and bring that out if we can. This is your hold fast that's keeping your drag assembly in place. Now, for the most part, we should be able to either unscrew. Yeah, the first part's going to be an unscrew, or just plain pull it out. That's your adjuster. Bring that out. There's a spring. Notice the washer on the top. I'm just going to kind of lay these out just as they go in reverse order. And what I'm interested in is the drag washer here. Sometimes a gentle tap will bring that down. In this case, it doesn't want to cooperate. So let's bring in a little assist. What happens with these is that they get pretty much scrunched down over time. One more should do that. There we go. And as I suspected, there's a series of these Teflon washers in there, so no need to do anything with this one. That one's in good condition. Simply repack. I don't know if you saw that, but there is a hook on the drag washer. That hook faces down. All right, drag washer goes in. This gets screwed back in. Now when you're screwing it back in, there's a little window here. You're going to see that. This has to go beyond that window so that that click, there you go, so that you have a slot here for that that little clip. All right, put that piece back in. Make sure that it's through that window with that little adjuster piece on. It is. And then to reset this, the square part goes in first. Kind of flip it down, pull one of the rings in, Come over, pull the other ring in. And we can take the adjuster cap. Make sure that it fits nicely. I want to put that cover on before. Now, this cover can go on independent of that cap, but I just like to do that first. And while I have the handle off and before I go any further, I'm going to use a rod and reel cleaner here just to get rid of some of the little tarnish, and maybe even I may have even put some oil on there as I was working it. May have transferred from my glove, whatever. We'll just do a general cleaning. It's easier to do it that way before the handle is on. Well, this reel's got a lot of life left in it. Looks like it's been pampered, which is nice. The teeth and everything look nice. It was dry of grease inside, but other than that, it seems to have worked well. And I'm glad to see that they do not have that little rubber bumper for that anti-reverse. A little bit of a mystery as to why that popped off, but it did. And well, with this video, if it happens again, the owner knows how to take this apart, what to look for, and how to get it back again. Okay, just about done with that. And we just have the rear drag assembly to put back together. The cover, the handle, the spool, and a test. So again, the weak point of this is the size of the drag washers. This one, they're bigger. You should be able to handle 50 size fish with this. And the advantage to a rear drag fishing reel is that you do not need to reach over the bail and the line in order to adjust during a fish fight. You can just reach below, tighten or loosen this drag, and get the right amount of tension that you're looking for while you're playing that fish. So again, if you're fishing like this, instead of going over here to tighten the top nut on the top adjuster, you just reach below, keep it out of the way, and well, you'll do good for that. Okay, handle goes back on. We want to lubricate this button right here. This is a quick release button for that handle. It'll collapse it. And if I didn't mention before, whenever you're working on a reel, check to see if that cap on this side is turning when you turn the reel. If it's turning, it usually indicates that that is a screw cap, and that the screw I'm putting in now is actually an integral part of the cap. But if it's not turning, it generally means that there's either a through screw like this one, or the arm screws into the main gear independently. Always check this cap. Don't assume that it's just going to screw into the handle. All right, just make sure that the collapse works on this. That's how it folds to keep it out of harm's way. Let's go ahead and put that spool back on. Again, we'll just use that little scrubby pad with the rod and reel cleaner in it just to clean it up a little bit more. And put it on, give it the test. Now, if you did need to service this, there is a forked spring underneath this cap. That's what's catching this little groove right here on the tip. You can see the groove there. You can't see the fork. If for some reason this is not snapping and holding in place, sometimes that fork gets separated. This is a screw-off knob here. You can screw it off, remove the center button, which is another fork coming down. It's going to separate that wire, and then you can reset the spring, put it back on. All right, let's give it the test. We've cleaned it up. We've examined all the pieces and parts, got rid of the old greases and oils, put in fresh greases and oils, check the drag. Now it's only one thing to do, give it a test. Look at that. For a single ball bearing reel, this is a very smooth operator. Let's just make sure that our bail is tripping nicely. It is. And let's just collapse that handle for easy storage. And that one's serviced. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that. It's an old reel that's going to be kept fishing for a long time to come. I want to thank our police, fire, rescue, and everybody involved in public service. You're truly an inspiration, as well as local heroes. And I appreciate your career choice and what you do day in and day out. Well, folks, this is another lesson learned, another lesson taught, I guess, as well. I hope you've enjoyed that. Time to get your reels ready for the spring run. It's coming. And don't wait until the fish are biting to find out that, well, maybe you should have serviced it. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.